Hey guys, how's it going? It is Kara here with another Infinite Magicraid video, and in today's video I want to talk about how I use the Forge and hopefully give you a couple tips and tricks about this piece of content to help improve your account here, get a little bit better gear. So Forge can be found here in the front. This is a pretty useful thing in the game. I really like this feature, and how it works is there's two ways to be able to get gear in here. The first one is going to be this Forge side where you get these pieces. So adamantine ore is one, and that's going to be able to farm these three pieces here. This is the harder one to get. These top three, consider these in their own tier because you can't craft them, and this is really hard currency to get, and the only way to get that is through events, and based on the random events and what you do through these. So like for example here, let's look at point ranking. So this is not that, but you kind of get the idea here that there's other versions of this forged material from these events. Let's check advanced arena competition. So here's an example of it. Advanced arena competition, you get this, and then you get the blue version. This is going to give you a 4 or 5 star piece, and then down here at 4,000 you get only 5 of this stuff. That's going to give you the ability to get a 5 or 6 star version of this piece, and then from there we get to choose fearless set, tough set, or first aid set. And I think for most people, first aid set's going to be a way to go. You get speed right here, effect hit, and healing effect. And this is going to be great for your healers. If you have Liz, for example, if you have Space is another character that would really benefit from all of these here. Space is amazing as your character. I think easily one of the best characters in the game. So this is an amazing set for someone like that. Be able to check all the boxes essentially, except health, which is kind of a bummer because she is squishy, and making sure she survives is great. But this is going to be an awesome set for someone like her. I do think tough set maybe down in the future would actually be a really good set, being able to have the effect res, like in this game, dots like bleeds and HP burns do a ton of damage in this game. So being able to just resist it, I think could be really powerful. Probably not going to help too much with progression, but if you really want to have a specific arena style set, this can actually be pretty useful for you, and maybe people are going to start building this later on. And I think the fearless set is a little weird because it has the crit and the leech, and I think leech is not that great, maybe a little good in the beginning of the game. It kind of helps you when you're trying to progress early, but having the mastery there, they don't really synergize well in there, because the crit rate and the leech, you want to be doing direct damage, but then mastery is going to be increasing the effect of your dots like bleeds and HP burns and stuff like that. Whereas leech and crit rate are nice for those kind of characters. Really, you want as much effect hit and as much mastery as you possibly can have, and not having that on there is kind of a bummer. So I think this is probably a good set early, but this is not like best in slot for most characters, unless someone can combo a character that maybe you do some kind of crazy solo thing where they heal themselves and then you have the leech and the crit rate on there way down the line. Maybe like for example Malia would be a character I can think of where you have the crit rate, you have the leech, she heals on her own, then you would just need to get a ton of effect hit substats. Then maybe this can actually be pretty sick on someone like that. So as I'm not totally against this being a set, but I think for the most part first aid set's probably going to be the move, then maybe tough sets down in the future. And then now there's another tier. You got to consider these as a group of 3 for the most part. These 3, so we got Slay set, Wild set, and Endurance set, and they all use this right here. They use the Mithril for the 5 and 6, and then they use the Mithril Ore for the 4 and 5 star versions of these. And this is where we start with the crafting. So notice how it's similar as before. When it comes to this is all going to be through events, and usually like the kind of lower tiered events. Get these pieces. You're going to get a lot more pieces of these versions than you are of the fearless, tough, and first aid, and you can actually craft. So when it comes to this, you turn in your, keep in mind 5 star, and it needs to be epic. So only 5 and 6 can be done, so no 4 stars, and it needs to be purple or higher, so purple or the gold ones, and then you crush in 2 of this one, 2 of this one to get 1 piece. So it's really rough on, like, you have to not only you need to actually roll the epic 5 star, but then you need 2 of these of this type and then 2 of the other ones to do it. And so what I like to do with this is I like to look at this. So HP rate, defense rate, effect res on a crit set, probably pretty bad rolls for that. One thing I should back up on when it comes to this, when it comes to equipment, well, it deserves its own video, but the 6 star pieces roll percentage is so much higher than the 5 star pieces that I want an actual god roll 5 star piece if I'm going to entertain using a 5 star piece in this game. Because mainly the 6 star pieces just outclass it so highly that like a well rolled blue 6 star piece is probably going to outperform most decent to really good 5-star pieces, just because they roll so much better on the percentages there, and they just have better flat stats too. So they have a lot of stuff going for them on the 6-star pieces. That's why on these 5-star pieces, I want to make sure it's like an actual god roll. So like crit rate effector has a flat HP, just not good enough. This one right here, the attack just not good enough. So a lot of these are going to get rolled into this and become a slay set. And so it's kind of a nice thing that even if you roll bad on a piece, then it will eventually become a slay set. Then you have another random chance for it to become a good piece, and at least it starts better because it's, you know, a better set than the 15% crit rate, and that's it. Another thing to keep in mind that as you put these in, so notice how down here I have a legendary piece here and then an epic here. If I put in 2 epics, notice how we have 1 legendary piece and 3 epics. So 75% of the time I'm going to get an epic, 25% of the time I'm going to get a legend down there. So something to keep in mind when it comes to this, do you want to actually guarantee it and only put legends in and always guarantee you have a legend version of a slay set? Or do you want to kind of roll it and maybe go 25% legend, 75% epic and see if you get lucky? So that's going to be up to you guys to decide on how much you want to do that. But that's how crafting works. And what I like to do is look at the dungeons to see which versions of these dungeons double up and also give me the same thing. So for example, Gwyneth here gives me mastery and effect hit, and that's gonna help me go back to here in the forge and look at this set here, the accuracy set. This takes, to craft it, it takes mastery and effect hit. So we get to craft accuracy set pieces just because from one dungeon. These are just great sets in general because those are going to be the best sets for your HP burn characters. So people like Malia, as you can see, I have 2 sets here. I have a mastery set where it's 100% mastery and 80% effect hit. And then I have another one that's way more effect hit but less mastery. And I just kind of switch between the two depending on the requirements of said dungeon there. And for the most part, I like this one because I have like 100% effect hit, and I just don't have to worry about getting resisted. Whereas over here, I do get resisted here and there depending on the content, but I do have a lot more mastery. And ideally, we can bump those numbers up. These could be a lot better. I've seen people in like the 130% mastery range, so definitely a lot of room to be improved there. But eventually, they'll all be accuracy sets because I'm going to be farming a ton of Gwyneth. It just seems to work really well there. And as a bonus, you get, I want to say crit rate and defense is going to be the other 2. Yeah, crit rate and defense sets there. So keep that in mind when choosing what to farm. Being able to have that double up, at least, you know, the bad rolled epics and legendaries will become a better version down the line. And ideally, you would double up there and get them both from the same dungeon. Whereas Slay Set, not the case. Crit rate's on one, crit damage is on the other, but Slay Set's really good. So you're going to want to farm both, especially if you have a lot of direct damage. You don't have much of the other, or you're just done leveling up your other one. You really need to get more sets for your direct damage characters. So out of all these, I think Slay Set's just no-brainer, the way to go. Wild Set, kind of nice early because it gives you more crit rate, which is really hard to get early until you start to get like the 6-star pieces, especially the 6-star first, especially this, what's it called? I want to say Mark Artifact. Until you get something like this. So 21.6% crit rate just by itself there. And then as we start to level up our talents, and for example, Force Mark here, 3.6 crit rate, and then in the class talent for attackers, you can get more like 3% crit rate there, and then more crit damage here. So eventually we're going to get more and more of that, just base stats there for our characters. And then Sanctuary 2 is going to be increasing our crit rate, crit damage, stuff like that, attack percentage as we go on. So it's just going to get easier and easier the better our gear gets and the better our account overall gets to be hitting those thresholds. So it's not going to be as important to be having 15% crit rate here, whereas we're going to want that extra crit damage because we're going to be critting so much. The crit damage is going to be better than the attack, even though we have less crit rate. So that's why eventually Wild Set gets replaced into Slay Set. And then Endurance Set here, I think this is okay. You get the HP rate and the mastery. There's just a better set here out of this when we're forging here. I would rather go Slay Set because it's like best in slot here. And when it comes to someone that would take mastery, I would rather have this accuracy set down here, so I'm just not going to focus on that. Out of these 3, I think Slay Set's the no-brainer way to go. Now we get to this next one here. We have the Holy Set, Feather Set, and Night Set. Out of all these guys, I think the Feather Set's going to be the way to go here for sure. Here, oh, and Guardian Set's also in this tier. Yeah, guardian sets in this tier as well. So I think this is the move for sure. HP rate and speed, fantastic on your supports. Makes them go fast, gets their cooldowns as fast as possible. A lot of these characters that are your supports, you want them to go first anyway. So very good set there. And then I think this could be unique if there's defensive based damage dealers in this game, or as our gear gets better and we're able to hit the thresholds we need on hit, effect hit and stuff, it might be nice to just throw a little crit rate onto our defensive characters. And that became a thing in Raid Shadow Legends as gear got better. Everyone was, even out of all the supports, they were all just starting to hit their, like getting them closer and closer to full crit rate. And it makes a big difference in your overall damage. But for the most part, I think people are going to be targeting Feather Set. I think Holy Set gets outclassed by First Aid Set for sure. So it kind of overlaps. And then I would say Feather Set's actually really good. So I'm definitely, I've only been making Feather Set pretty much when it comes to these. And then lastly, we have these guys here, and they all take this copper ore, and accuracy set, hardening set, bloodthirsty set. These three here. And what's cool about these is that you get this from the guild boss. And as you progress through the guild boss, you get this copper ore here. So you don't get any for level 1, but you do get them guaranteed based on certain damage thresholds at the second version. So you get 3 here if you can exceed 10 million. Pretty nice how you can consistently farm this stuff and get better gear for your characters that are going to be doing HP burns, bleeds, stuff like that. Because I think by far the best is going to be this, the accuracy set of all these. It's going to help your account the most. I think bloodthirsty set might be nice out of a carry. Like, for example, if you had a holder and you're looking for a good set on him, I think a lot of people probably go bloodthirsty set or fearless set for him early if you have the option to do that. Holder's a little overrated in my opinion, but you know, he does serve his purpose, you know, so if you went him, it's not the end of the world. Just eventually he's going to fall off. And for the most part, ideally some kind of burner on your team, some kind of HP burner, some kind of bleed character, and you're going to want these accuracy sets on him. I like to farm Gwyneth, and so it's like getting these is kind of reasonable because we're going to be farming Gwyneth and also getting these through the guild boss. The characters that are good in Gwyneth are also going to be good in guild boss, so it kind of double dips. And then this is going to be, you know, ideally the way to go. Even though it's going to take a long time, and a lot of the 6-star pieces from Gwyneth are probably going to be way better for a while, it's still going to be the thing I'm targeting until eventually, you know, we get some good 6-star pieces of accuracy set that will take over, and you'll get a ton of mastery, ton of effect hit off of those. But that's pretty much how I look at this right here when it comes to the crafting system. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. And with that, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.